We are collaborating to make shared decisions a reality. We are inviting and mobilizing our communities to make a difference in the lives of our students. Recognizing this and really listening to one another will help to further our progress. It's always a good idea to look back and reaffirm our focus as an organization. PTA is a powerful voice for all children, a relevant resource for families and communities, and a strong advocate for the education and well-being of every child. But if we look further at the beliefs of the New York State PTA, in what we want to accomplish, we see clearly our purposes spelled out and how important they are to making relationships within our schools the very best that they can be.
So PTA's priority is to establish relationships with all of our families, whether they're PTA families or not. We need to learn to collaborate with those families in order for our PTAs to become a success. PTAs can promote a lot of things, policies, standards, goals. We need to remember again that we are a PTA for all of the students, not just the families who are our PTA members. By doing this, we show all the families that we are a premier resource. The principles of PTA are governed by national. They establish that we are to empower children, families, educators, and school board members. We work as a community, a whole collaborative group. By doing this, we will continue to be the premier advocacy education organization.
So what is a school board? The school board serves the community to which it must answer for its decisions. They are a policy-making body, and together with the superintendent of the schools, they create, amend, and rescind policy. But who are they? You know what? They're just like us. They're volunteers. And they could be anybody, a parent, a community member. They don't have to have a child in the school. Could be anybody in your neighborhood. We all have one thing in common, however. We are all working toward the common goal of making our districts as successful as possible in giving our students the best educational experience. And remember, don't just get involved when hot topics are being addressed. And remember, being volunteers, school boards also like to be told that they're doing a good job. And who is the superintendent? The primary role is one of leadership. Leadership that works with school boards to identify clear goals for the school leadership and they interpret policy guidelines to the administration and staff. Create a coalition of community. You could see by looking at this visual that we have a lot of interested parties in the school district, that the superintendent can create this coalition to support our districts. While the PTA represents a portion of the stakeholders, We are not the only group of interested parties that the superintendent should be working with. As you could see, non-parent community members, administration, teachers, support staff, school board. That sounds like a great coalition to me. We can demonstrate by example the most learned, most cooperative, and diligent way to make a successful partnership possible. Joan, you're muted.
A working partnership between all partners is essential if we are to secure the best possible education for all students. Parents, teachers, principals, superintendents, and school boards have a common goal: quality education that cannot be achieved by acting alone. Partnership, teamwork, and communication between partners and sharing in the decision-making can lead the way to success for all students. As with most partnerships, success depends on the degree of consistency and fairness with which the rules apply. Partnership means each understands their responsibilities as well as the others. It means setting goals and working cooperatively. It means reaching out to all parents and staff. Respect each other's time, consistency in goals, cooperations, and patience. Next. Okay. PTA and the school board and PTA and the superintendent. Understand their roles. The school board serves the community to which it must answer for its decisions, while the school board must depend on professional staff for information and advice. This relationship should never be a substitute for strong working partnership with parents. There are many things that a school board can do and the PTA in order to work together. They can appoint a member, a PTA member, to any advisories committees. They can send notices to all school board members to all members about meetings, to local PTA units. They can attend PTA council, region, and local unit meetings whenever possible. They can ask for PTA and input on issues of importance to the school district, decisions on maybe school boundaries or budget matters. Between the introduction of a policy item and the vote on it allows sufficient time for the public to express its views. Involve all citizens. The PTA, in its role in working with the school board, should learn the difference between administration, which is superintendent and staff, and policymaking, which is the school board. Establish a communication with the school board. Appoint a PTA liaison to attend school board meetings and collect copies of agendas and reports. Present PTA positions on educational community issues, and remember to always voice the position or consensus of the PTA, not personal views or opinions. Review with the school board the state-mandated family engagement policy. And remember to find common ground. With the superintendent, the superintendent's role, go back. The superintendent's role is one of leadership. Leadership that helps the school board identify clear goals for the schools. Leadership that interprets policy guidelines to building principals and staff, and leadership that helps the community understand what the schools are and can become. The superintendent's leadership and support is instrumental in creating a coalition of parents, students, and adults who have no children in school, building and district administrators, teachers, support staff, and the school board. The PTA is a critical element in this coalition since it represents a broad base of parents and others willing to work collectively and actively for all children. The school board, while the school board is the policymaking body of the school district and employs the superintendent receives general directions and outlines of goals and policies from the school board. and is charged by the board with organizing staff to meet those with goals. With the superintendent's recommendation, the board determines the annual budget, sets education goals, and approves the guidelines. To have a partnership with the superintendent, PTAs to support the development of district-wide policies and family engagement. Listen to the parents, listen to your members. Prepare copies of district parent community involvement policies and procedures to share with the community. Strongly encourage all schools to have the PTA's role. Become familiar with school policies and procedures and understand and use administrative channels. Know the difference between the responsibilities and roles of the board, the superintendent, and principals, and set priorities and goals and discuss with the superintendent. Address issues that will benefit all students. Next slide. So we are all working together for the benefit of our children and the education that they receive. So the PTA can expect to be heard as a key community leader, and if necessary, insist on equal access to the school board and the superintendent. Involve people who will participate on committees and task force. Mobilize coalitions and, when necessary, to achieve education goals or to support school issues. Be willing to openly discuss issues and opinions for the school district. And be sure to recognize the educational accomplishments of your school district. This will all benefit the students, teachers, and your entire school district if the PTA, the superintendent, and the school board all work together for the benefit of the children. Thank you. Questions?
We don't have any in the chat at this time, but I'll start with one. What would you suggest, and at what level of PTA within the school itself, let's say a local unit PTA, how would you suggest somebody start those relationships?
Well, you can certainly make sure that principals, I would speak first to the superintendent to make sure that all principals attend PTA meetings and have an active role. But the first thing really is to make sure that each school has a PTA. Okay, and you can have a member of your PTA attend school board meetings, report on those meetings at your PTA meetings. And so everyone is best informed.
And it's also really important to remember to ask them to become a member of your PTA.
So one idea also is at the beginning of the year, the superintendent will typically have his administrations or his meetings with all his teachers and staffs. And there'll be an introduction on the vision for the remainder of the year and the pamphlets and the distributions. Once you start to build that relationship, you can ask the superintendent to give you, when he's addressing his teachers or his principal, his administrators across all the schools, to give you a 5-10 minute windows to explain PTA, the role of PTA in each school, and what the vision is from a council level or from the region level of what the PTA's mission will be within each of the schools, whether it's more engagement or parent engagement or advocacy with specific issues. So it's a good introduction to kind of, at a broad base, introduce PTA to all the principals at the same time in order to strengthen local PTAs.
It's also a perfect, when you introduce yourself to the school board, especially if you have multiple PTAs in a district, which most of us do. If you are on a council level, it's really would be beneficial to discuss equity in the district and what the policies are of gifts or grants that the school board may or may not take, in making sure that it's equitable in all of the schools and it doesn't end up with one school, donating a lot of stuff and then the schools are no longer equitable. And it's one community. If you have multiple elementary schools, it becomes very inequitable and becomes the haves and haves not, which becomes problematic.
We had a question in here from Kathleen Jen. Kathleen, would you unmute and ask your question, please?
Sure. My question was about the mandated family engagement policies. I was wondering, does that in turn mean that the state requires each district to have a written family community engagement policy? And if so, how do we obtain a copy of that? If it's not on our district website, would we have to go as far as a FOIL request, or is that something that is usually easier to obtain? Thank you.
I would think that you would request that from your school board. I would talk to your superintendent first and maybe talk to a member of the school board. In our resource guide, it says it's Commissioner's Regulation 100.11. So I would talk to the district first and see if they can supply you with that. Every district would be different on how you would obtain that kind of information.
Worst case scenario, you can FOIL it. It is public information.
And Ina, you want to share your comment, please?
Yes, ours is listed on our Buffalo Public School website in Buffalo.
And it may very well be there for many other districts, but as Joan said, maybe not. So you need to find out about that. Margaret, you had a question. You can unmute.
Hi, yes, I do. I had a question. I don't even know if this is if this is a kind of a big question, I guess. So in our PTA, we're very fortunate. We're upstate. As my friend who lives in Westchester County, I always tell her, but we're real upstate. Because I always call her downstate. Anyway, we are fortunate we have a council, so we have them sort of as a liaison between our PTA units. We have 3 elementary schools in our district. There's 5 schools altogether, and we have a new SEPSA. And I kind of feel like, trying to think of how to word this in a way that's going to make sense. Almost like our PTA is active, and we have, we do a lot of things, right, that a lot of PTAs do with events, things like that. But it feels a little bit like I feel like we're not really representing the parents in a majority sense. You know what I mean? Like I want us to be, I'm a president of one of the units. I want us to be a little bit more of like that voice. And I mean, each of the PTA units host one Board of Education meeting per year. So we have that. But I feel like, for example, my particular unit, we've got like 510 students, and I haven't checked probably in about a month, but I think we only have maybe 160 members. So you see what I'm saying? So I feel like we're not on our own end as parents, like we're not able to really get the membership that we'd like. And it's always been not as good as it should be. And it's been declining, in the last few years, I think for everyone probably. And then also, with that, I feel like on the other side of things, I feel like the district is possibly not looking at us as like the parent voice, you know what I'm saying? So if anybody has any advice on that, I would love to hear it, because I'd love to, make an improvement there. I don't even know if that really made sense, but.
So hello. So
Yes,
you're
hi.
saying that are you saying that your PTA is more about fundraising than actually school issues?
Yeah,
Is
I
that-
would say that. I would say that. I would say that I guess people don't think of PTA as a place for um, advocacy at our local level, which isn't,
Mhm.
that's no crime. Um, I think we do, I think around here we do tend to think of PTA mostly as doing little events and book fairs and things like that.
Right,
But
right.
I would like to strengthen our relationship with the district as being like the voice that they go to, you know what I mean?
Right, a voice for
Um,
parents, right.
yeah, and I feel like, and I suppose this is just a really big question, that probably can't be answered on a little Zoom, but I don't know. It's been something that it's been kind of stirring around in my brain. So
Have
any
you thought
thoughts?
of Finding out some kind of poll to ask them what they think your PTA does and what could your PTA do for you?
Okay, that's a great idea. I didn't think to do that.
Does that help? I
It
hope.
does. I think
Okay.
that's certainly a good starting point. Yes, each one of our units, I just saw Renee's comment. She's from my region too. So yes, our school or what am I trying to say? Each one of our units hosts a board meeting every year, which is very nice. Although I'll tell you, at my board, at our school's hosted board meeting, I was the only one that came from our board. And I don't know, I just feel like everybody's so busy with things and it's hard.
Well, sometimes,
But that was,
sometimes PTAs choose a particular topic that might involve your school board and might be, of importance to
oh,
parents.
okay,
So you could,
sure.
look into something like that. Sometimes that brings out a lot of parents if there's something that's, going, a new program in the school or any program in the school that they want an explanation for that involves maybe funding from the school board and involves the superintendent and, the staff.
And
Okay.
you also might do something such as an awards presentation if you just had reflections, and that of course draws parents in, and you can do it right at the school board meeting. They're more than happy to celebrate, the accomplishments of the students in the district. So that's a great way to bring parents out. They get to meet the board gets to see the parents, and then they realize they can ask questions, depending on your board's function and how they work their meetings. But it's a good way to do it. And at least once you get the kids involved, then the parents will follow. And that's, sometimes a good thing to do as well. Or you could even do it during School Board Appreciation Month, which is, I believe, October, and have a little something for them, present them with a certificate, ask some of your PTA officers to be there just to show your support as well. And it just makes them feel as if you appreciate what they do, and hopefully they appreciate what you do, being that you're going out of your way to recognize them. So.
Oh, that's a good idea too.
So one
Thank you.
suggestion, no, just one quick suggestion as well. So building a relationship either with the superintendent or the board takes some time, or even with the principal. So typically when the PTA units start, one of the good things to do is to start scheduling either monthly meetings or every 2 months with your principal in the school. And so there are topics that principals or teachers cannot raise directly because of contracts or issues that they're seeing, but they do, want the help of parents in advocating for some of those issues that they themselves cannot. So once you start to build that relationship with your calendar events, and then coordinating whether it's open house, whether it's a dance, to get more PTA involved, and you build that relationship with the principal, then you start to get a little bit more in depth as to what are some of the issues that you feel parents should know about, or that we should help you advocate for, as the parent voice, and then become that unit of the representation for the parents within the schools. And then you keep escalating it, because if they can't resolve the problem, then you would escalate it to the superintendent, or maybe have a set of parents go to the school board meeting and then raise some of those concerns. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Julie, you had a question. Would you like to ask? I'm sorry.
Yeah, you know what? We have had a new superintendent and administrative group of people come through over the last maybe 2-3 years. And in the past 20 plus years, the PTA was always the premier parent group. It was in the Board of Ed, in the rules saying that that was the only recognized parent group within the district. And last October, there was a new policy or a new thing that was brought out in their ledgers or their rulings that was kind of slid in October of last year that none of us knew about, but that they changed the verbiage saying that any parent association or booster group as being a parent group for the district. So we are now at a point where we are a council of 20 local units from kindergarten through 8th grade. And we are at a point of, we have one local unit that's trying to, getting ready to dissolve. And we are trying very hard to build a relationship with our superintendent and really share the value of the PTA. I know that during COVID, everyone was doing less, it was very difficult. But I think we've lost a lot of ground and we're really concerned about a snowball effect. Our council is also in a rebuilding phase right now and we're doing really great. But we're really nervous. And so we're not really sure how to approach, building this relationship with the superintendent. She came from a PTO background in a wealthy area. And so we are a very diversified economically district. And so any thoughts or suggestions of what we can do to try and help? We are doing our best to collaborate and work together. And she or her representative does come to all of our meetings and present. But I feel like, they want the PTA to be the fundraising arm for what they want. And they really don't understand the true mission and purposes of the PTA and what we should be doing. So any suggestions?
So maybe it's your job to educate them on exactly what PTA is and does stand for.
And I agree. We've been trying to do that. We've been working with them to collaborate and, provide some parent education opportunities and all of that. But yeah, if
It's
there's
not just your parents that you need to educate. You need to educate your new superintendent. You need to educate the staff. It sounds like you have new staff, and it sounds like that staff is from a PTO background, which unfortunately they are fundraising for the school because that's what the PTOs do. But they need to understand that we're a 501c3 advocacy organization,
Right.
which prohibits us. So you have to present it to them. It's legally, it prohibits us from doing X, Y, Z. So when you're showing stuff like that, sometimes, it takes it in black and white to them. There's the national letter at the end of the finances that talks about, being what PTA is about and what the money is supposed to be about. So that's probably somewhere that I would start with the superintendent.
Right. You can also, if there's something that either the principal or the superintendent would want you to purchase for your school or within your district, you can talk to your school board, you can tell your superintendent that you can advocate, especially if you feel that that's an item that the school district should be paying for. So you can, ask them to form a committee and you can review as to why the district, could not purchase that piece of equipment or whatever it might be. So, you're doing work through the PTA and not necessarily fundraising for it, because you're asking, our parents, pay taxes and then we ask them to also contribute money to pay for an
Correct,
item for
yes.
the school. So you're sort of asking someone to pay for things twice. But the
And-
PTA can work together with the superintendent, and the school board to maybe find funds within the district.
And if you needed added support, reach out to your region director.
Okay, that's great. Thank you so very much. I really appreciate it.
And I have a question from Domenica Acavelli. Domenica, want to unmute?
Yes, hi, sorry.
That's okay.
Great pronunciation on my name, thank you. I'm I'm in Dutchess County and we're having an issue with our superintendent. This is the first year we've had these issues come up. Um, Specifically, we're trying to do fundraisers in the school, like a holiday fair for the kids. We were able to do it last year and there's been some miscommunications apparently between her and the principal last year, and she was told us that she wasn't unaware of it, but that we are not allowed to bring any commercial enterprise into the school to sell to students. However, the book fair is still allowed and it's the only thing allowed. And as a PTA, we're trying to understand how we can work with the school board and superintendent to make things like a holiday fair for the kids where things are cost from a penny to $1, right? It's very
Mhm.
inexpensive. Schools all over the state do it, and we're being told we're not allowed.
And what was the reason that you were told it was not allowed?
There's a fundraising policy in our district that prohibits commercial enterprise to the students directly. So we can do it, but it has to be after school hours, or off premises. So our issue is that we're just seeing a lot of parents are coming to us saying, well, you know, the district over is doing the X, Y, and Z. Why can't we? And the kids really miss this holiday, specifically the holiday fair. There's some other things going on that I won't get into, but that is a specific event that has been brought to our attention. And we're, as a PTA, we're being asked to go to the district and the board and say, hey, can we revisit these fundraising policies to
Mhm.
keep up with the times?
Right, right.
Our school board also does not live stream their meetings, so we have to be in person, which is a little difficult, as everyone I'm sure can attest, with working parents, families, and other activities after school. And that's something we're being asked to bring up as well. And are these all appropriate things that we can go to, ask to be on a school board meeting agenda and bring these issues up?
Yes,
Yes, absolutely.
That's
absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, I'm not sure why they're not allowing, I mean, when you purchase things for the holiday fair, what do? Do you go out to a vendor and buy them and bring them in? Or does the
Yes,
vendor come in?
it's exactly the way a book fair is run. So
Okay.
we purchase, we don't even pay for it up front, but we connect with the vendor. They send us items. We display them. We are there as volunteers to sell to the children. No child leaves without a book at the book fair or a gift from the holiday fair. The PTA always obviously includes, the vendors usually include a free section anyway. So we are very inclusive. We're very mindful of those families that can't afford. But again, the book fair is the only event they will allow, or she is allowing, because she's saying it's such a long-standing tradition, but she has been very clear to tell me more than a few times that it does directly violate the policy.
I'm not sure how different it is if you're doing the same thing with other items like holiday items versus the book fair. So you'd really have to
Right.
get a clarification as to why you're doing the
So
exact same thing. It's
that's
not
what
the vendor coming in and selling it, it's still the PTA. It's their items. Once you purchase them, they're your items to sell. So I'm not
Exactly.
sure. Yeah, I don't know that I have an answer for that.
Yeah, I've brought it up twice now about that and comparing it to the book fair. And I've have her emails saying that the book fair is just such a long-standing tradition that she allows it, but she will not allow anything else. And it's just very frustrating when parents are coming at you saying, you know, why
Mhm.
can't we do
is
this? And we're
she the superintendent or is she the principal?
the superintendent. The superintendent.
Okay, could you hold it
Yeah.
after school? Would that be inconvenient for families or?
We can, and we did this year, and it was extremely inconvenient. And then students and families felt left out because they couldn't attend after school.
Cool.
So, you know, you can hold an event that is,
Right.
you know, flexible for everybody.
Right.
Right.
So that's why during the school day, we're able to do it over 3 days. Every student can come. We have a makeup day. It's so much more convenient. And the kids like doing it without their parents there. They
Sure.
want to buy something for their mom or their grandmother or their
Mhm.
brother or sister. So that's just one of the issues we're having. So I just wanted to clarify and make sure it was okay for us to be able to bring these up and get on the school board agenda.
And when you do that, since this does directly involve the children are allowed to speak.
Mhm.
That's a great point. Thank you. I might get some fourth graders involved.
And they're very effective too.
They
Yes.
are.
Yeah, just a quick note, you can bring it up, it should be raised. But maybe change the narrative, right? We do fundraisers to bring programs to schools and to help other students. So change the topic of not just focusing on the fundraiser, but what does the fundraiser achieve for the benefit of the children, for the benefit of the program? So what are you trying to achieve with the programs? And then have those kids talk about those programs, unless the school will fund it or the district will fund those programs directly. So then you kind of tie it to that need. But that's why, that's one way to change the narrative. So they don't focus on the fundraising, but they focus on the benefits of
Appreciate that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's an
so
excellent point.
Yeah, that is. And because we ran it last year, I actually have the numbers like black and white. This is how much we made last year and what we could use it for. And now this year we can't because we didn't raise that money. So appreciate that input. Thank you very much.
And the more parents you have behind you, with this situation and kids, it's only going to hopefully sway the superintendent to say, maybe this is a good thing. Look what it's bringing into the school. And think about the community relations too, between now, your child can go in and buy a gift. So it's just great for community relations to know that the kids are able to do this on their own, of course, with help from the parents that are volunteering, but just the idea of, this is something we want the kids to become independent, learn how to purchase things, spending their money properly. So, there's a whole big piece to that seems to be missing, unfortunately, because of her policies.
Yes, all great points. And our school board, like many others, has like one person attending. I heard somebody say that before. So we are, as a PTA, actively trying to remind parents of when their meetings are being held. And again, the live stream is a huge issue. Every other school district has been
That's a
live
biggie,
streaming
yeah.
since 2020. There's no reason.
There's no reason, yeah.
We can't, because it's just so much more convenient for parents. When it was raised, just so you know, someone was told if they want to come, they'll figure it out. So we're kind
That's
of
so not parent friendly. Honestly,
know.
it really
and
isn't.
I think that's the point, which is kind of sad. But I don't think they know who they're dealing with, because this new generation of parents that, my kids are in second and pre-K and I have a 1-year-old. We want to be involved. We're going to be there and we're not going away just because you say so.
Right. No, agreed.
Good.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Renee, you had
Thank
a
you.
question. Do you want to unmute?
Sure. So we have a brand new PTSA. We're actually chartering it at the end of this month. There's never been a parent group of any kind in our middle school and high school. And I guess I'm just trying to figure out etiquette wise, because I know there's an etiquette when it comes to the Board of Ed. Who do I approach first? Do I go to the superintendent and introduce ourselves? Or do I go to the Board of Ed meeting and just do it all at once? What's the recommendation?
Well, my opinion is that you would give the superintendent a heads up, so they're not, feel like they're, they're hearing it for the first time at a school board meeting. Remember that the school board does set policies, but the superintendent also has, input on policies. So I would approach your superintendent first and explain that you're going to the school board. I mean, you don't have to, but I think it's a good idea, having a working relationship, that you do approach the superintendent and let them know, what your plan is.
And it might be a good idea to ask to have the new PTSA officers introduced at the school board meeting, so that, the community knows this is your PTA. Let's everybody meet them. We're doing this for the kids. This is what we want to do. So I think that's very important, as we've all talked about here, and our presenters mentioned, that it's important to have that good relationship between the community and the school board in particular. So
And also invite the superintendent to your PTA meetings,
yep.
So they can see all the things that you're planning and, the support that they have.
Most districts too have a board member that's assigned to a certain school. And I would absolutely send them a notice whenever you're having a PTA meeting and say, we're having this PTA meeting. If you'd love to come, we'd love to have you come and speak for a few minutes. and just so people get to know who they are, they elected these people, maybe they know them, maybe they don't. But, most, like I say, districts have that policy of assigning a school board member to a particular unit, a particular school. So that would be a great way to get your PTAs to know who these people are. And what can I do for you? I mean, you're the community, you elected me. What can I do for you? And that's very important. And again, feeling wanted, again, strengthens that relationship between the community and the PTA.
Right.
And
And
the
I
borough.
think we have to remember, and we have to, make sure that the superintendent and the school board understands that we are all educational partners, and that, the partnership benefits the students.
There's great information in the resource guide on relationships between school board superintendent, PTA. So I suggest you take a look at that. It's available on our website. And it will certainly give you some ideas on how to build those relationships and make them work for your community. So, I do refer you to the resource guide on that as well for
thank you.
additional information. Are there any other questions? Anyone else would like to unmute and ask a question? Please feel free. I don't see anything else in the chat box. No? Yes?
Nope.
Okay, so Rob, you want to wrap us up here?
I want to thank everybody again for joining us this evening. I know it's tough on schedules, but I would really appreciate it. Hope it was very informative. Like Jackie said, there is information on our website and on the resource guide as well. And we do have these monthly. So Jackie, just let us know when is the next one. Thank you,
The
everybody.
next one will be on bylaws, and that will be on March 13th. It's a Monday, a little different day, but that'll be on Bylaws 101, easy for units and councils, presented by our bylaws coordinator. So you can save that date. Please watch the PTA Connection and social media for the announcements of those, and register as soon as you see the announcement so that you're able to attend the meeting. Okay, have a great
Thank you
night,
again,
everybody.
Joan.
Thank you again. Thank you,
Good night.
Joan, and our presenters for this evening.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, everybody.